Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in just a moment. We'll wait and see our attendance list go up here. So we'll begin in just a moment. All right, well, I see our numbers kind of leveling out there, so we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the very first of the Career Board webinar series. This is hosted by the League of Railway Women. The League of Railway Women is a professional organization founded in 1997. Our mission is to connect and cultivate women in rail. Membership is open to anyone affiliated with an organization that shares this same goal. Our programs are focused on improving representation of women in our industry and providing growth opportunities to better diversify the rail industry. You can join our association. Let's first things first. Let's get ourselves acclimated to our web environment here. So a couple of housekeeping elements. Two ways that you are listening, as you all probably have already recognized. You are in listen-only mode. You can listen in via your computer speaker system, which should be the default that you are on, or you can join by phone by selecting telephone in the audio panel. Should you have questions, and we hope you do, throughout the conversation here today, in your go-to webinar panel, you will see a questions tab. It is the second drop down from the bottom. You can enter any questions you have in that section, and we will get to those questions toward the end of our presentation today. You can join the League of Railway Women. As I previously mentioned, individual memberships are $60 a year. And if you are a corporate organization, as represented by a few of the folks on our panel here today, you can join in several different ways: patron, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, through various kinds of investment. You can visit our website, which you see at the bottom there, or reach out to our membership chair should you have any questions about joining. A huge thank you to all of our corporate partners, which keep us alive and keep us funded, as well as giving us fantastic membership. Those of you on the call here today are part of these great organizations, and we can't thank you enough for all of your time and energy. Without further ado, let's get into the topic of our webinar today, applying for railway jobs. We have a great group of folks here supporting this topic today. First, we have Beth Whitted. She is the 2021 LRW Railway Woman of the Year and the Executive Vice President of Sustainability and Strategy, as well as the Chief Human Resource Officer for Union Pacific Railroad. Prior to that, she was Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer. In her tenure with Union Pacific, she has held a variety of executive roles in strategic planning, investor relations, finance, customer service, marketing, and sales, and has led the chemicals business unit. She is a founding member and the former president of the Union Pacific LEAD group, Lead, Educate, Achieve, and Develop, which is the women's initiative for Union Pacific. She is also quite active in her community, serving on several boards, including Humanities Nebraska, Lauritsen Gardens, Omaha Symphony, and Heartland Workforce. Next, we have Joe DeLuizio, Track Division Manager for a railroad construction company. Now, Joe quite literally was born into the rail industry. His father, Joe Jr., worked for the rail construction company, which was founded by his father, Joe Sr., back in 1926. As track division manager and senior project manager for RCC, Joe is continuing his family legacy. Joe also serves on the executive board of the NRC as vice chair and is active on the AREMA Committee 41 track maintenance. In his home state of New Jersey, Joe is helping to improve his community by also serving on several boards, including land use, nonprofit holiday festivities, and special needs housing. Farah Tabibi is our the senior manager of professional recruiting for Trinity Industries. Farah has been with Trinity going on 6 years, handling talent acquisition. Farah is extremely passionate about relationship building and matchmaking for employees and companies, ensuring a good fit, and has been in this recruiting role for over 20 years with a special emphasis on IT staffing for over half of them. Her previous roles include Vice President of Recruiting at Proceed Technical Resources and Recruiting Manager at IT Logic Partners. And myself, I will be your moderator here today, helping to get the conversation going. I am Erica Brunke, LRW Director at Large and Vice President of Training Services with Rail Pros. So let's begin our panel conversation. Beth, our first question is for you. How do I know if I am qualified for a railroad position?
I think there are so many ways that you can be qualified for a railroad position that you really shouldn't doubt yourself. Look at what the job description is. You know, if it's super rail specific, maybe we're going to be looking for some sort of an accreditation or a license. But in general, we're going to be looking for what your experience has been, the different places that you've worked, perhaps your educational background or any technical skills. So just bounce yourself up against the job description and really think broadly about the things that you've done and the capabilities you have and whether or not they're a good fit.
Thank you, Beth. That's a great way to kick off our conversation. Joe, what are your thoughts on being qualified for a railroad position?
Well, I mean, I agree with everything Beth said. I mean, it's so important, you know, on the contracting side, which is, you know, the company that I represent, we always look for somebody who's enthusiastic, somebody who wants to try something. I mean, a lot of times people will come across a job description and they may think, well, I'm not 100% qualified. But I always try to tell those people, if it's something you have a passion for, if you're interested in it, if maybe you had some kind of experience down the road or you know somebody, I think it's worth taking a shot. You know, you get an interview, you talk to people, you really, you know, don't sell yourself short. You know, there's always training out there. There's different kind of web things you can do. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And I really, to get back to the passion, if you really have a passion for something, I would say, I would encourage anybody to try. Don't hold yourself back, try.
There we go. Always push yourself. I like that thought, Joe. Farah, what would you like to add?
Definitely agree with both Beth and Joe. I think, you know, especially in the market, you may not have everything that a company's looking for, but look at the job description, make sure you've read it. Do you have at least 2 or 3 of the things they're looking for? And then, you know, look at your soft skills, your transferable skills, and see what else might make you a really strong fit, just like the passion and enthusiasm and aptitude. You know, there's so much that you can ramp yourself up for within a role as well. So look at the big picture, as Beth said, and don't sell yourself short.
Love that. Now, where you were just starting to touch on there, Farah, I think is a great segue into our next question. So we'll ask this next question of you first. What kind of experience is most impactful and or important for a railroad type job? What kind of qualities are we looking for?
Agreed. And touching on the last answers that we shared, really it's your experience, right? Make it yours, because you may have rail experience specifically for that role. You may not. You may have some other things that you need to ramp up on. But you know, what is your passion, as Joe said? You know, those are things that we look for. That's most important. If you're passionate about the role and what the responsibilities are and the outcome, that says a lot, especially in today's market, right? So I think having other soft skills can definitely add to the experiences that you have. again, in this market, for Trinity, I know we're looking at all of our applicants, right? We look at what you can bring to that role or to the company, and maybe it's a different role too altogether. So I think there's a lot each individual can bring to a rail role specifically. There we go. Tongue twister today.
No, that's really, really appreciate that thought. And I certainly think, some of the elements that you're bringing up here in this conversation is recognizing diversity in ourselves, not just, by what we classically define as diverse, but skill sets can also be diverse. I really like that thought. Joe, what are your thoughts on this particular question?
Well, I agree with everything Farah said. I mean, we always look for people who are team players, right? We want somebody who wants to be here, somebody who's really excited about getting involved and good communicating with team members. Usually when people apply for a job, they'll submit their cover letter. And I always try to tell people, in your cover letter, you want to put a statement in there to really get the attention of the hirer or the HR person involved, to really get their attention to, like we talked about on the first question, if you don't have the exact skills that maybe don't meet exactly what the company's looking for, you may have something that may jump out at the person hiring. I mean, we always like to find people who really, really, really are excited. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough, because when you interview somebody, as most people know, you want somebody who's showing you that they really want that job. They really want to be there. So, that really comes across, and you really want to show that.
I like that. It almost feels as if passion and just general excitement for the company, for the role, can almost outweigh experience in some cases.
Sometimes, I mean, experience you definitely want experience, but you also want somebody with passion.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. Beth, final thoughts on experience in this particular question.
These guys have done a great job answering. So the one thing I would add, and it's just something that we really think about a lot, and I'm sure that both Farah and Joseph do in their businesses too, is that the railroad is an unforgiving work environment. And we really want people who think about safety as being a critical part of what they bring to the table. So recklessness and railroading don't go together very well. So we want people who have kind of a safety mindset. Obviously, that's maybe not the first thing that you think of as an experience, but it is something that's really important. People who really think about that and not just their own safety, but like caring about the person next to them. I want you to go home safely today. So I'm going to point out things that you're doing that I'm worried about for you. So that's an attribute we especially look for in our field employees, is the desire to be safe and to help others be safe as well.
Very important. Excellent point there, Beth. And I think that goes back to those soft skills that Farah was referring to as well. Leadership, courageous conversations, being able to, have those maybe somewhat uncomfortable conversations if you recognize someone is putting themselves in harm's way. All right. We will move on to our third question, similar to the experience question, but now, what if I want to apply for a job that's different from the background that I have? I want to transition into a different kind of role, but I maybe don't have the qualifications. So Beth, let's direct this question to you first, and we will listen to the others here in just a moment. So Beth, what are your thoughts?
We've said some of this already, but it really applies here. And that is, just because you maybe haven't done the exactly specific thing, it doesn't mean that you aren't capable of doing it. So I really think people do the best when they think about, what all have I already done? What were the skills and learnings and knowledge that I accumulated through that body of work that I've done over my lifetime? And how could it be deployed into this new job? So when you get invited to interview, or when you're writing that cover letter, like Joe said, you need to really think about, how do I connect the skills and abilities that I've worked so hard to accumulate, and how do I connect them to this job that on the surface people might think, geez, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. But if you can tell a story about why it makes sense, I think that people will be compelled by that. You just really need to think it through.
Very good. And Beth, I believe it was you that was offering a story, or maybe it was research comparing women and men and how we kind of look at
Yeah.
jobs a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I for the listeners, I don't get to make eye contact with you, so I just want you to know I'm partly kidding, but I'm not completely kidding. So we've done a bunch of research, and we actually bought a software system that checks our job postings to see if the language that we use in our job postings slants towards male traits and words that men like and respond to, or if it is more neutral. And what we found when we first did it is that all of our words were really slanted male. They were words that men related to and would respond to in a job posting. So we went through a bunch of research about what different words should we be using, and that's where I'll get to the story. So women don't ever want to say that they're proficient. And so my best example of this is you've got a woman who grew up on a farm, and she drove a tractor, and she helped her parents run the farm, and she knew how to, put hay up in the hay loft and all of that stuff. But if you ask her if she can drive a backhoe, she's going to say, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." So we need to make sure that we make it easy for her by using words that say things like, "Are you willing? Have you had any experience around heavy equipment?" as opposed to, "Are you proficient?" A man will say he's proficient if he dated that girl and walked by a tractor on her farm one time. The girl, I'm joking a little, okay, but the woman won't say she's proficient unless she's actually done the thing. So we just need to make sure that we're welcoming and we're indicating that we're willing to train, and that heavy equipment experience that she had with a tractor is relevant to us when we think about hiring her to maintain the railroad with a backhoe or other heavy equipment.
No, I love that. And I know I've seen that research before too. If a female is even 99% qualified for a position, that 1% always gets in our head and will, in some cases, prevent us from pushing and being confident in our skill sets. All right, Farah, what are your thoughts on, we'll say, challenging ourselves and being okay with a bit of a different background?
Definitely. Well, Erica, I think it is really a great time for people to be open to change and looking at things outside of what they've done in the past. We see the talent pool candidate, shortage right now too, right? So that's allowing employers to really look at the big picture for candidates, as we mentioned earlier. And so it's a good time, take a look at something else maybe and see what might be a good fit for the background that you do have and what skills you can learn. I always say, there's a strength in being intentional with your target. So maybe don't just try for everything, but be very focused. Companies love to be courted the same way a candidate wants to be courted. It's got to be that mutual kind of attraction, if you will. So make the company feel just as important that you're targeting them specifically, or their role is truly enticing, and then the company as well. I think that goes a long way. I mean, it definitely does for us too. When I have candidates that reach out to me time and time again for positions, they just really want to be a part of Trinity. I love that. Our hiring managers love that. I'm going to go to work for them and see what we can find to bring them on at the. And again, now I think it's just a really great time. Look at the skills you have, what transferable skills you have for roles, what can you train yourself to get up to speed quickly, and also customizing the resume, the cover letters for things that you're targeting. I think that's always helpful too, because you can really highlight things that may not be for every job, but for this specific role, and make yourself
Mhm.
stand out. Use your networks too. I think that's incredibly helpful at any time, whether it's internal networks within companies, colleagues, peers, LinkedIn connections, etc.
That's a very good point. We're going to come back to that one, Farah. I'm glad you brought up LinkedIn and kind of our network. Joe, final thoughts on our varieties of backgrounds and how we can challenge ourselves to transition.
Well, a lot of great information from both Beth and Farah. I can say that I have passed tractors, but I've never said I can operate one. So I can tell you that. But it's interesting though, because, I mean, Beth's right on the money. Sometimes you'll get candidates that say they can do things and then, they can't, and you really don't want to be deceptive. To Farah's point, I know from the construction industry, we like to have candidates who research the company, who come to an interview and they know something about your history or what you do and who you're involved with, and showing that interest. I think there's so many candidates out there that have such good qualities and good experience, and they sell themselves short and they think, well, I did X for so many years. I don't know if I could ever transition into Y. And, like I said originally, you never really want to sell yourself short. You really want to get that chance to prove that you can do it. I mean, so many times within our company, we do a variety of different things, whether it's civil construction or track construction or building construction. And it's not uncommon to get people from different trades, different experience levels to come and say, I want to do track work or I want to do civil work. And, you want to give everybody an opportunity and to really to sell themselves and to really go forward. So, I mean, just to echo what everybody else said, I would just really introduce yourself and be respectful and do your research on the companies and get to know who you're interviewing with. That's so important coming in.
Thank you, Joe. Now, I certainly see some themes coming out of our responses, and quite cool because we're kind of representing all aspects of the industry here with our panelists. We've got Beth, you're class 1. Joe, you're on the construction side. Farah, you're on the supplier side. Yet there's a lot of consistencies in how we look at people to bring them into our companies. All right, let's look at our next question. Now, Joe, this one will be for you. How much of the application process stems from reputation? And Farah, you mentioned networks within the company or within the industry.
So, I mean, for us, the application process is definitely your segue in, right? And you really want to make sure that your application and your resume are attractive, they're efficient, they're clear, they give the person reviewing it a good indication and somebody they say, we want to call this person. What I always try to tell people, and being in this industry my whole life, it's a small industry. While the railroad stems all over the country, it is a small industry. Most people stay within the industry, whether they move company to company. So you really want to be careful if you're applying for a new position or if you've been in the industry before. That reputation that you made for yourself, it definitely stays with you and it follows you. Farah mentioned LinkedIn and social media. That's such a big part of everybody's life these days. I think a lot of us, we post things thinking it's fun or, it's funny. You want to be careful about that because companies today, they have the ability to check everything, whether it's personal or work related. So you really want to be very careful about what you post out there because it will follow you. I mean, for us, like I said, the application is a big one. Your reputation is a big one. And I know in the construction industry, we pull from other contractors. We pull from joint venture partners. We pull from clients, and it's a lot where you're dealing with these other companies and these people within these other companies who get to know your reputation, not only their own, but the reputation of the company that they're applying to. And it's something where they say, wow, what a great company. They've done such a good job, all their experience and their history. We really want to be a part of that. So it kind of goes both ways, but reputation and that application and that resume, it's so important. Just like not to keep going on, but that social media presence, that's so important now.
Thank you, Joe. Beth, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Joe on the social media thing. People get in more trouble there. Even, your history can haunt you a little bit. So it's just it's one of those, number one, think about who you really want to trust in your network and whether or not you really know them. You know, you don't have to have a zillion connections on LinkedIn. You just want them to be people who really know you and the quality of your work. And have it less be about the social aspects. But, you know, when it comes to the reputation, it's interesting because even the rail industry is small, the whole transportation industry is small, and you find maybe somebody who works as a transportation manager at a customer over here is suddenly the transportation manager at a customer over there. And so you do want to foster your network and foster your relationships and stay in touch with people, because it can open out opportunities into the future. And the best way for that to be true is if you've done a good job and you've created a trusting relationship and the people know the quality of your work, and that you're sincere and genuine. So it's kind of like in, you know, everything else. Relationships matter, and how you treat people matters, because it'll follow you.
There you go. So social aspect of, you know, internet connections, those are still powerful, but Beth, I appreciate the human connection is still very much important as well. Farah, your thoughts on reputation preceding the application process?
Absolutely. And I agree with both Joe and Beth. Both had great comments that I think are so relevant. Reputation should always be a consideration. And we have to think about that in everyday life, but, you know, especially if you're looking to make changes, because you never know who from your past will be in the next company, vice versa. But I'll keep it simple. You know, I always love to say, if somebody's looking, you may never actually have to apply for a job if you have a strong network and a strong recommendation from people. So it can make it easy for someone in the long run too.
Well, hey, that's the best kind, being asked to apply for the job.
Yes, yes. And we see that happen time and time again, where people have said, I've never had to apply because people have always reached out to me when I wasn't looking. And so I think that's a great problem to have, right?
Right, very much. All right, well, panelists, we have actually a few questions from the audience. So let's start at the top here. Let's see, the question reads, how to be a part of the new age railway technology, such as predictive maintenance and digital railway. So it sounds like this question is really leaning into technology and perhaps what can an applicant do to maybe prepare themselves better for more of a digital kind of railroad. Whoever wants to begin, I think we'll keep this Q&A piece a little more casual. So whoever wants to begin the comments on technology.
I'll jump in. I mean, everything is leaning towards digitization and data, what we can do with the data. So I think, you know, if somebody is leaning towards moving into that arena, doing the training, right? Whether it's education, further education, certifications, get yourself just, you know, ready to go and take it on, because that is where everything is going. We have so many openings here at Trinity. I see them everywhere. Data, digitization. So just get yourself trained and knowledgeable, and you can probably take on anything.
Be an eternal student. I love that. Beth, Joe, what thoughts do you have?
I would have said the exact same thing. You know, there's a lot of really great tech certificate programs. There's a lot of really great compressed coding sorts of programs that you can take if you really want to be on the IT track. And after you do that, please send me your resume, because we're always looking for new tech talent. And the other area I'd touch on is cyber. Boy, if you want to work in cybersecurity, boy, you know, like I said, send me your resume, because that's a hard area. And but there are a lot of really great certificate programs you can do. So they're only, you know, like say 3 to 6 classes, and you can do it in a year or a little less. But yeah, you have to have a knowledge base going in. Not very many people can just transition into that.
And there's certainly a highly qualified kind of position there. Very good. Joe, how about from the construction side? Where is technology and cybersecurity coming in?
Well, cybersecurity is definitely a big one. I'm glad Beth touched on that because, I mean, you see that almost every day, right? Emails are getting hacked, they're getting taken for ransom. It's really becoming crazy. I mean, even in my personal life, my son's a freshman in college and he wants to study cybersecurity. You know, he's so interested in that industry. It's just funny that Beth brought that up. But on the construction side, I mean, technology is becoming a larger part of what we do. It's the computerized tampers. It's the, you know, the tracking software we use on the project management side. It's, you know, the GPS technology on the civil construction equipment. It's pretty much everywhere. We can do global mapping and do all kinds of, you know, survey via data. It really, it's so getting so technological out there. It's really, I think, you know, people with a computer background can get involved in so many different aspects, and it can be coordinated in different parts of our industry, whether it's construction or the operations management. So, you know, I think even somebody coming out of the computer world that transition into railroad, I think they could find a fit.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. All right. Next question from our audience. What would drive a company to hire a railroad professional from another country?
There's nothing keeping you from it, in my opinion. It's just a matter if you have the ability to work in the U.S. For us, you know, you would need to have that work capability. But we have lots of people from lots of different countries that work at Union Pacific, so we definitely value the experience that people with diverse backgrounds bring to the table. So there's nothing that would keep you from it. You just have to have for us, you would need to have the capability to work in the U.S.
Very good point. Thank you, Beth. All right, Farah or Joe?
I would agree. We have so many different countries represented here at Trinity, and same, just have the authorization to work in the U.S. and come on.
And away we go.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even on the contracting side, you know, I mean, we're always looking for people, good qualified people, even from overseas. You know, if you have the ability to come to the United States, I think there's plenty of positions open for you.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
For sure.
All right. Next question from the audience. What are your thoughts on high school students getting into the rail industry? Of course, they may not have the industry experience, but how and where should they start? So it sounds like perhaps not necessarily coming with a college degree.
Well, we are actively recruiting high school graduates to be transportation workers, and certainly we also hire high school graduates for jobs like train dispatching, and crew calling and customer service. You don't have to have an advanced degree there. On Joe's side of the business, you know, there might have to be some training that we would need to do, or you might have to have like a commercial driver's license or something like that for some of those jobs. But we love high school students. There's no problem. We don't have formal apprenticeship programs that we run, mostly because of the collective bargaining agreements, but we hire people into what would be like a journeyman sort of role, and then they work into freight car maintenance, you know, electrical work on locomotives, etc. And if you're a high school graduate and would even consider doing a short associate's program that would give you some skill sets around electrical work or other crafts that have additional skill sets, that would be wonderful as well. So yeah, we're not afraid at all of hiring high school grads. That'd be, again, send me your resume. We're in the market.
There we go. And certainly, you know, trade schools. I know during my time with BNSF, you know, working in places like Montana, you know, those trade schools really had a lot of great talent.
For
All right,
sure.
Joe, looks like you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I agree with Beth. I mean, on the construction side, I mean, I know I started working on the tracks when I was just out of high school. There's lots of opportunities to, you know, be a track maintenance laborer and work your way up. I mean, I worked in the field and I went to school at the same time, so you have the ability to do both if that's really what you want to do. You know, you don't have to do that, but there's a lot of people in our industry that just have a high school degree that come out and build track, have a very successful and long career. You make a very good living.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Farah, how about from the supplier side?
And I'll add, you know, definitely from trade schools, we love welders, painters, everything, and always hiring. So we encourage people to go that direction and come see us. We will definitely talk to you.
All
Yeah, I
right.
should have mentioned welders. Yeah, welding, please. And you
Yes.
know, we actually sponsor a welding program at a high school here in Omaha to try to attract college or high school students through their welding program. So yeah, we're 100%.
Yeah, mechanics are another big one. Mechanics, we're always looking for good mechanics. So anybody coming out of a trade school for mechanics, there's a big need for you.
Yeah.
Right, love that. So no problem whatsoever. The degree is not always mandatory. All right, let's see. We do have a question here. I think maybe we'll end with this question. I'll come back to it. It's kind of asking for what kind of opportunities are out there. But let's ask this one. What advice would you give to a young woman who has been in the industry for a couple of years and feels stuck in her current role? Would you apply for other jobs, begin networking and attending more events? What would you suggest?
Yes.
And yes.
To all.
Yes to both.
Yeah, you know, not knowing her exact situation, I would, if there are events and networks that you can tap into, for sure do that. You know, we have an employee resource group for virtually everyone, and everyone is welcome in all employee resource groups. So think about, is there something I'm particularly interested in, or some group that I really feel a particular affinity for, that I feel like I can make some friends and network. Because that's a great way to learn about jobs that are open in other parts of the company, and get some insight into what might it take for you to be the person who moves to that. And don't be afraid to talk to your supervisor about it. Most bosses understand that your desire is not to sit in place for 40 years, right? They know that you want new challenges and that you're curious. So just say, hey, you know, I'd really like to get an opportunity to do something different eventually. What do you think my gaps are? Or what do you think I should learn in order to be able to do this other thing? So tap a network of, you know, kind of colleagues, but also, you know, talk to your boss.
Definitely mentors, and even the TA team. You know, I'm always happy. I encourage my team to reach out, you know, people that don't necessarily maybe know what else is out there. Have a session, sit down, you know, talk to someone from TA, let them share maybe some openings, and share your background so they know who you are, and understand maybe what you've done, what you would like to do, the soft skills that can be applicable to other roles as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with both Beth and Farah. I mean, if you feel like you're stuck, first thing to do would be talk to your direct report or your supervisor. And if it doesn't go anywhere from there, then definitely look at other companies. If you like the industry, maybe you just need to move to a different company, different atmosphere. Maybe it's you're working for a class one, maybe you want to go to a supplier or a contractor. I know we have lots of women in the contracting industry that are fantastic superintendents and project managers, and even in our labor force. So there's lots of opportunities out there. Just a matter of doing the research and seeing what's out there and see what jumps out at you. Maybe go to a conference, you know, see the different vendors that are set up and talk to people.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful advice there. You know, conferences are a great way to network. You know, we've got the NRC represented on our panel, of course. That happens at the beginning of the year. We've got a REMA represented, which happens toward the end of the year. And of course, this very group itself, the League of Railway Women, they host a lot of really great events, obviously webinars like this, great way to expand your network, great way to expand your knowledge. So I encourage, Brianna, I think I see it was you that asked that question. Go search, go poke around on our website. We've got a great mentoring program that perhaps could unlock some potential and open some horizons there. All right, let's see. You're welcome, Brianna. All right. There is a question. I think we can just offer some real light advice here. I don't want to ignore the question, but it is asking for advice on cover letters. Now, to the gentleman asking that question, we do have a webinar that is up and coming that will talk about resumes and cover letters in great detail. But Joe, Beth, Farah, what are some quick tips that you have for cover letters?
Anybody? I mean, I can start it. I guess you want to keep it concise, right? To the point. Maybe start with an interesting, just an interesting fact, either about yourself or some positive statement to really get the attention of the person reading the cover letter. And I guess try to be clear about your intentions. I'm excited, or I'm interested, or things of that nature, just to kind of, like I said, get attention and show your ability to really want to be there, or even reference the company itself, the history of the company, and that you have some knowledge of the company, because you really want that person to not put it on the pile. You want that person to really go into your resume and look at your application. So it's really got to be, you don't want it too long because they won't read it. You want it concise, and you kind of want it to the point.
I have two comments. I definitely think that it's your chance to share something that they will not see on the resume, whether it's why you're interested in the role or something relatable to the company, as Joe mentioned. But that's your chance just to have a quick overview or a quick little note about what's attracting you to the role or something else. And then also, please be sure that you modify each cover letter. I can't tell you how many times I will receive a cover letter and it has a different company listed because they forgot to change, and that's just not a great first impression. So I always just be detail oriented and change up those titles, please.
I don't think I have anything to add to that, but I agree with Farah. It's amazing, and get somebody else to read it, because everybody makes typos.
True.
Very good. All right. Well, I think our final question regarding the opportunities in the industry, I think this is a great question to then segue into our the main feature of our call here, the new career board. So we'll showcase here. We'll transition to my screen, and we will actually do a quick demo of the new tool. All right, so here we are. This should be a familiar one here. This is the actual LRW main website. There is now a new feature at the very top, Career Center. You'll notice two different areas, one for job seekers and one for job posters. The job posters being our corporate partners, and job seekers being for our individual members. So we will go here and sign in. You can, if you're brand new to our organization, you can sign up here. If you are a returning member, and we love you for that, you will sign in using your LRW login details. That's helpful to actually type in the correct password.
No pressure, Erica.
I know, no pressure. Public typing. All right, so once you are logged in, you will see kind of your main dashboard. that shows elements about your profile. If you've made it public or private, you'll see how many people have checked out your profile and be able to review jobs that you have applied for. So to our question, what kind of opportunities are out there for those with rail experience? So let's go to our job tab here. You'll see that there are several ways that we can start searching for those opportunities. You can just simply search or just start browsing from right here. We see one right here for Joe's company, Railroad Construction Company.
Joe and Farah are showing off. They've both got one there.
I know. And here we've got one over here. There we go, Trinity for Farah. So you'll see all of these details, outlined, and these are published directly by these groups. All you do is click apply, and away you go. This even gives you the opportunity to provide a short statement directly to the organizations. Use information that you have saved to your profile, or even add one to that cover letter comment, a specific cover letter to this specific employer. You can attach that right there. If you aren't quite sure, truly what you're looking for, you can just start browsing and search either by a specific location, whether it's full, part-time, whether it might be an internship like the one Farah has posted, or search through specific categories. You can also just explore if you're curious, what jobs might be in perhaps your backyard. What's in the New York area. What's in the Ohio, or looks like this is actually Kentucky area. So this gives you an opportunity to start exploring by those means. If you happen to find a job that does interest you, you can either save it, or if you found one that is particularly interesting to you, the nature of the job, you can also create a job alert. And you can then go to your job alert area to come back and see, are there any other positions similar to that construction engineer that might now be posted? If you've found your perfect role, you can always clear these out. And if you want to come back and review a position that you thought sounded interesting at one point and you just want to revisit, you can come to your saved jobs area and revisit that same position. Let me now go back. Hopefully that that answered the question about opportunities, but certainly Joe, Beth, and Farah, I'd love for you guys to maybe spotlight some of those opportunities with your specific companies. So Joe, since we were just looking at yours, what are you looking for in the construction space?
So we have definite needs for track construction engineers, construction project managers, construction superintendents, estimators. We definitely have a need for all that. In the field, we typically we're a union company, but mechanics, like I said, welders, foremen, supers. We're looking for everybody. We're trying to grow and we're expanding, and our workload is becoming to the point where we need to really hire people. So if you think you're qualified and you think you want a life in construction, please look us up and give us a call.
Very good. All right, Farah, I know you guys are looking for interns for sure.
We are rounding out our intern program, so we're about to wrap that up next week, I would think. But definitely we have interns. We are, like Joe, to hire great talent across the enterprise. So we have corporate openings here in Dallas. We have field operations in US and Mexico. So a little bit of everything, a lot of those data positions that I was mentioning, whether it's data analyst, data science, a little bit of everything, and rail analytics. So anybody out there in rail analytics specifically, feel free to call me today. But HR and of course across accounting and finance and IT as well. So
very good. And Beth,
Well,
how about
we have pretty comprehensive openings, particularly frontline employees. We're looking for train and engine people really all over our network. if you live in Boone, Iowa, and you want a job boy, I could hook you up today. Or North Platte, Nebraska. We have some hard to fill locations because when the railroad was built, the towns built up around it, and some towns got big like Denver and some towns didn't, like Boone. And so there just aren't as many people available to us. So, but anyway, we're looking for all of that. We always have construction jobs like Joe talked about. We would love to hire more women engineers, and I mean civil, electrical, that kind of engineer. We'd love to hire more female engineers to run the trains as well. So there aren't very many things that we're not hiring for. So check out up.jobs, and I'll make sure that we get some on here too.
Very good.
Piggyback on Beth, I will mention our Shell Rock, Iowa location as well, being a harder location to find talent. So definitely keep that on the radar. And trend.net, tons of openings to check out there as well too.
Very good. And as everyone saw, we've got those opportunities posted and available on the LRW career board. So certainly go take a look and get connected with great people like Joe, Farah, and Beth. With that, let me do one final check on our questions. Make sure we need visibility in Chicago. Let's see. Yes. I'm certain Chicago has plenty of opportunities. That is quite the railroad mecca there. Ooh, all right. What do we have here? If one finds a role, but perhaps it's in a different location than where we may be located, what is the plan for those situations? Sounds like we've got a relocation kind of question here.
We're always willing to entertain that discussion. If it's an entry-level job like train service, we certainly have incentives out there right now for people to move to hard-to-fill locations. And if it's a headquarters type of job, we're always willing to talk about relocation. And I would guess the same is true for you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're mostly centered on the Eastern Seaboard, but if a good candidate comes forward, we do open a conversation about being able to get people where we need them.
I can certainly share from my own experience in the industry. I think if you are open to relocating, there are in fact more opportunities for you. As Beth mentioned, some of those locations really are vital to the rail industry, but they're not necessarily in the most glamorous of places. Looking at you, Shelby, Montana.
Yeah.
But yes,
and Boone, Iowa, and Shell Rock, Iowa, and North Platte,
exactly.
Nebraska.
No, plenty of opportunity, I think, is certainly the main message we've heard today in our conversation. Being confident in our skill sets and recognizing that even if I'm not the literal definition of what the job is looking for, I certainly have the skill sets or the experience or some sort of background that can bring value to that position. And recognize the company that the job is connected with. That it really does need to be a good fit. Farah, to look to the element from your bio early on in our discussion, it needs to be a good fit both ways. Now, this isn't just trying to bring in talent to a spot, it's to bring in, I would say, a new family member to the family. So it's really helping to connect people with their talents and what they're best suited for. Heck, I began my career with a marketing degree, assuming, silly me, that I would be in the marketing department, but instead, frontline supervisor, and I am so incredibly thankful that is where I began my career, because goodness, a decade plus later, here I am. All right, well, to all of those in the audience, thank you so much for your questions. They were absolutely fantastic. Beth, Joe, Farah, thank you very much for your time here this afternoon. It's been a pleasure learning from the three of you. And again, there will be more opportunities up and coming in the next weeks. We will have an event a week from today talking about That would be April 28th, talking about interviews, and we'll be focusing on the skill sets and things and ways you can practice to be prepared for an interview with a rail industry job. On May 5th, we will have another that focuses on what happens if you don't get the job that you applied for. That's okay, it happens, but how do you rebound and get yourself prepared for the next opportunity? Our final presentation then will be on May 11th, and that will be focusing on the topic we briefly mentioned, resumes and cover letters. So once you rebound, to get yourself back out there, how do you structure your resume and your cover letter to make sure that you succeed next time? So thanks to everybody, and we can now conclude our very first Career Board webinar of the series. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.